Okay, greetings everybody. Welcome to another episode of Catch-Up with Mayo. That's another thing where we catch up. Get it? Catch up, And Q&As, thoughts, questions, etc., etc., etc. And I am here on a Sunday morning. It's cold in here. I often will say that when I'm in this particular room. This is the room that I use here sometimes in this school area where I am, and it does not have a thermostat in it. So as a result of which, I'm bundled up. That's why I love summer. Come on, summer! Come on, summer! And see, we have a crisp day out there, and you may not be able to see, I don't know, but the first snowflakes are coming down. These are the first snowflakes of the season, very light, but I saw that we got some snowflakes coming down here. And, as much as I moan about the winter and everything, snow can be attractive, as I always say, in the form of kind of like a Christmas card. I like the look of snow. I think it's pretty and all that. It's just that I'm not exactly thrilled with the idea of going out in it and trudging through it and driving in it and all that kind of stuff, and the ice that you could slip on and all that. But as far as the visuals, it's beautiful. So here I am setting up, and I'm waiting for people to roll in here. We've got a few people here already. We got Darren Gamble. Hello, Darren. We got Jerome Land or Lande. And yeah, so here we are, and I hope that people will come in to join me this morning. Let's see, it's this morning here in the eastern area. Let me touch myself up a little bit, get some of these scraggly hairs. I think I need a haircut. Hello, Rob. Good morning, Rob Eisen. Hey, George, music for all four seasons. And I've got it on my calendar before the end of the year. I've got it. Listen to George's records. So it's on the calendar as one of my things for the next couple of weeks that I got to get to. Anja, hello. Is it Anja or Anya? I don't know how to pronounce names sometimes. I don't know how. Anja. Hello. Good morning, Alex. California. Oh, wow. The weather's got to be warmer than it is here, right? I wish I was warmer in this room. But hey, it is what it is. Actually, when I come here, the deal is when I come to this place, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a room. And there's a room that I like that I'm in, usually Tuesday evenings, usually when I'm here. Most Tuesday evenings these days. It's a different room. It's warmer. I like the acoustics better in there. And I just think overall that it's nicer than here. So but I go where I gotta go. EKR, do you have some warped records in the McCartney singles box? Well, I made a video, if you look back a video or two, and I did a video with my friend Tom, and we went through all the 45s in the McCartney set. Now, the thing is, I've only played a couple of them, and those two were not warped. And I didn't really, I took the records out of the sleeves in the video and I examined them, but I didn't really give them a lot of attention to whether or not they're warped or flat. I guess I'll find this out as I play each one, So right now, everything looked good, but yeah, I'm happy with it so far, what I've seen. So, all right. And what's going on, folks? I'll promote my Talk More Talk show that I'm doing tomorrow. That's Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on YouTube Live. Check out Talk More Talk. It's going to have myself, Tom Hunyadi, Kid O'Toole, and Ken Michaels. And we're going to be talking about a couple of things. First, we're going to talk about our favorite Beatle moments, favorite Beatle releases, Beatle-related moments and releases, anything Beatle-related from 2022. And we're also going to discuss Ringo's 1999 Christmas album, I Wanna Be Santa Claus. So that's our Christmas show, I guess you could say, end of the year show. It'll be our last show. That's tomorrow again, Talk More Talk, 9 p.m. Eastern. live here on the YouTube channel Talk More Talk. Hello, Empty Glass. Good morning to you. And let's see, that's all the news I have, and a list all I can think of at the moment. And I'm here basically just to converse with you if anybody has anything to talk about. Okay, Alex Martinez asked me, what do I think of the Mets, my favorite baseball team, even though they disappoint me every year, signing Justin Verlander. It's a good thing, I guess. He's a very good pitcher, right? But the problem is that, the guy's old. I think he's going to be 40 or something like that. That's old for pitching. I think he only got him a couple of years. Let's see what happens. You know how it is. The Mets get somebody and then all of a sudden they start to suck. We'll see how it goes with that. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hello, DJ Reed. What's going on? He said, Happy Christmas, Joe. War is over. If you want it. Don't forget that part. I haven't heard that song. I haven't listened to a lot of Christmas radio yet. But whenever I listen to Christmas radio, I have not heard Happy Christmas, War is Over, nor have I heard Paul's Wonderful Christmas Time. But according to somebody I know who works in a shopping mall, where there's a lot of mall music played Christmas time, that person is hearing Happy Christmas and Wonderful Christmas Time a lot, but I haven't listened to it much. Rob says, give it time, give it time. I'm just going by past years, past decades. They played it all the time by now. Hello to Marcus Thompson. What's going on, Marcus? And here we be. All right. Sorry for the dead air, but I wait for comments. DJ Reed asking me, do I enjoy my McCartney, Macca box set? Yeah, of course I do. I have enjoyed it. I've been playing some singles from it. The sound is great, and I'm very pleased so far. Watch my video if you want. I did a couple of videos on it, a couple of videos back. One of the videos I show all 80 singles. I pull them all out. 81 actually, if you count the test pressing, there were 81. And with the 81st single, the test pressing, I got Arrow Through Me backed with Old Siam Sir. Very happy with that particular prize that I got. James Connor, hello. You're Jim in the UK. Hello, Jim. A friend just bought me a Revolver box set for my birthday. I nearly fainted. Glad you're all right and you didn't faint. But hopefully you're going to enjoy that. Good morning to Joe Gunnery. Hello, Joe Gunnery. What's going on? If anybody's interested in movies, in particular cheesy horror and science fiction movies, I have another channel called Mayo After Dark. And over on my Mayo After Dark channel, which I urge you to subscribe to if you're interested, I just did a review on a 1959, so bad it's good, cheeseball of a movie called The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Yeah, and that's as bad as you can get, but in a good way. So check that review out of that. Yeah. So, for those who don't know, most of the year, I would say from January, it starts in September. Hold on, let me get this right. From September to June, except for the summer, really, I come here, I have to do this. Not every Sunday morning. Some Sunday mornings I don't do this. For example, next Sunday morning, I will not be here, thankfully, and I have to be here. So I do this early in the morning, just so you know, keep it in the back of your minds that there could be many Sunday mornings where you can tune in early like this, and I'll be here doing these chats. Hello, Lee Santa. Good morning. It's snowing up here in upstate New York, Lee says. Yeah, we got snowflakes out there. I don't know if they're coming through. We had a few little snowflakes here. First time so far for the season, and it's nice in a way, gives it a nice ambiance. I just don't like too much of it, the deal. Philosophical Sounds. Good morning, Joe. I have been watching YouTube free movies recently. Just saw this movie, Sicilian Connection, with Ben Gazzara, a good mob movie. What's your favorite mob film? Oh, wow, mob film. Well, I mean, I don't know if they call mafia films mob films. I mean, I hate to be predictable and say The Godfather, movies like that. I'm trying to think of mob films. There's some films, but I don't know what qualifies as mob, because I also enjoy the Seven Ups with Roy Scheider, but I don't know if that was considered a mob movie. Well, that's a cop movie more. You know. Um, I'm sure there are other ones, but sometimes things are right on the tip of your tongue or right off the top of your head, and other times you really have to think about it. Mob movies. If anything comes to mind, I like Scarface. Well, Scarface, the one with Paul Muni, and later on, of course. Oh, thanks for the hint. James Cagney. I like a lot of James Cagney mob movies. So let's keep going. Scarface with Pacino. Now, James Cagney, I love the James Cagney movies. There's no problem there. Public Enemy. The Public Enemy is probably my favorite of his. Uh, I'm not as wild about. Oh, I'm drawing a blank now. It's amazing. I know that I'm not as wild about White Heat as most people are with James Cagney. I like the one with Bogart. I think it's called The Roaring Twenties. Ted London, hello. Any thoughts on why the three songs on Press to Play were remixed from the new box set? No, Ted, I don't know. I don't know why those three. Only songs that were remixed, you say. I'm sure of that. I don't know. A secret friend from the McCartney 2 sessions, experiments, whatever you want to call it. It's a shorter version, it's an edited version. Rob Eisen says a couple of people made the point of defending the song Yellow Submarine as a piece of creative songwriting and not a throwaway. Some say it ruins Revolver. What are your thoughts on this? No way does it ruin Revolver. That's a new thing going around that a lot of people are spouting out. And I think Yellow Submarine is a wonderful song. It's catchy as hell. It's memorable. It's whistleable, singable. It stays in your head. Ringo gets to have a moment in the spotlight. It's experimental too when you think about the sounds they were doing, the sounds of the water and kind of that submarine, like shifting gears and stuff. So it's experimental, and it is a children's song. It was thought of as a children's song, I guess. But I love it, and I think it enhances Yellow Submarine. If for only the reason that it gives Ringo his moment to shine on that album. I mean, Ringo should have a moment on every album. He should. Yeah. Lee talks about the Ghost Galleon, aka Horror of the Zombies, Fangs of the Living Dead, with Anita Ekberg, and the Living Dead series was directed by Armando de Osario. So, yeah, I think Yellow Submarine is underrated these days. That happens. You go through periods where certain albums get underrated. We're going through a period right now where the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album is getting trashed a lot. Oh, and some people are trashing it, and the people who are not trashing it are saying it's not as great as it once was, and it's kind of like putting it down. It's dated and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, of course it's dated. Why not? It was clearly like the Summer of Love of 1967. That's old, I mean, it's going to sound like that era. I think it's amazingly innovative still. Excuse me, I just had breakfast. Got a little bit of it coming up. Cheers. What's going on, folks? What is going on? That's my question to you all. And what do you want to know? As if you don't know enough of it, picking my brain already. I know there's only so much, so much you can ask and talk about. But with the Beatles and solo Beatles, it's not just, it could be almost anything. It doesn't have to be Beatles related. It could be movie related. It could be TV related. It could be. I don't talk about so much politics or news of the day or anything like that because that's too controversial. It's not what I'm trying to do here. Hello, Paj. Thank you for joining the Q&A. I was really thinking of trying to do these Q&As less often, I just thought of something else in my mind here. But, I don't like I think doing these once a week or more, it's too much. Once a month would be better. But the problem is when I come here on certain Sundays and Tuesday nights that I'm kind of, obligated to come here, I kind of have to kill time. Okay. What else we got? All right. James Connor, there's a great YouTube video where they recreate the scenes from Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. Have I seen that? Yes, I have seen it. And I love it. I love that whole bit. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman is my favorite Universal horror film and one of my favorite movies, period. Because of childhood nostalgia and all that kind of stuff and monster action and all that. But the thing is, I've always wished that the missing footage could be restored. And I doubt that it exists anymore. People have looked for it. People have looked in the vaults, they can't find it. And it has the Frankenstein monster speaking in Bela Lugosi's voice, and I mean, it was part of the plot originally as shot, and it really would have been good. But unfortunately, I think back then in those days, they didn't save footage. They weren't anticipating special 4K or Blu-ray editions coming out with bonus features and director's cuts and all this thing. They didn't think like that in 1943, So as a result, a lot of that footage was destroyed, tossed out, a lot of it. Yeah, James Connor's talking about Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman on those old Castle Films Super 8 little reels, reels used to play on your projectors. You had movie projectors back then before VHS tapes, home video, DVD, Laserdisc, Blu-ray, all that stuff. Before streaming and all that. And Lee asked me, hearing John Lennon's demo of Yellow Submarine changes everything, doesn't it? Would have been a beautiful Lennon ballad as well, no? I think so. I think John's working tape on that, where he's kind of like really being more serious about it as it starts out, the birth of Yellow Submarine, It starts out serious and starts out with John giving his thoughts of, despair, inadequacy, perhaps. And yeah, it turned into a children's song, which is interesting. I do think that it would have gone in a different direction and been quite interesting had it been done as a Lennon song, really. Okay, more promotion. I want to also say I was on Ken Michaels Radio. Check out Ken Michaels Radio, which is a YouTube channel. On Ken Michaels Radio, I joined Ken Michaels, Alan Kozin, and Ed Rising, and we discussed our three most underrated McCartney albums each. What are your three most underrated McCartney albums? Albums that get slagged off or don't get too much appreciation. We each picked three. That's over on Ken Michaels Radio. Am I a fan of the work of Jerry Anderson, the Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, etc.? No, I don't believe so. Have I seen the movie Mirage 65 with Gregory Peck and Mr. Budwing 66? Two Hitchcock-like movies. I've not seen either. I think I might have seen Mirage a long time ago. I definitely did not see the James Garner one. I'll go with Leonard Nimoy. Brandon Nemo, Leonard Nimoy, or Captain Nemo? That's a good question. Definitely Leonard Nimoy out of those three. And I'm not even a big Trekkie, but still, Star Trek is swell. It's swell. What's going on, people? We're doing nicely here this morning. This is fun being here with you. That's one good thing about having to come up here. There was no traffic today on a Sunday morning. We got here in under an hour. We got here like in, geez, I don't know, was it like maybe 50 minutes, 55 minutes. Sometimes it takes an hour and a half to get up here. And we got here in like 55 minutes today, which is pretty good. I do like that very much. Still playing with these glasses because ideally this is where I want them. I have to put my head just like that. Just like that. If I could stay like that through the whole thing, it would be great. What is your favorite song by Christine McVie? Oh, that's tough. That's too tough. Well, I'm mostly, of course, familiar with Christine McVie stuff from Fleetwood Mac. I do have a CD, Christine Perfect. There's other songs, and I played that already because I love her voice. But it was several years ago now, and I don't recall the songs from there. So it's hard to say right now. Say You Love Me pops is the first one that pops in my head. Songbird, Oh Daddy, Songbird, Say You Love Me. Those are the first ones that pop in my mind, but there's so many others. Mark Casserly says, "Hey Joe, what was the last movie you saw in the cinema?" Last movie I saw in the cinema was, and I just was there, if you want to call it a concert for George Harrison tribute concert, was just on November 29th, they brought it back again. That was the last movie I saw, concert for George. But as far as before that, wow, I'm drawing blanks. And I don't remember. I don't see many new films. I did see a movie with my girlfriend. It was her choice. Boring as hell. Called Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. That was a new movie that I saw in the theater. Well, that's like the last new movie I remember seeing in the theater. I've seen a few Fathom events. We saw The Wizard of Oz back in the theater again. Fathom events. Retro. Saw The Wizard of Oz, and I'm Trying to remember them. There were some others as well, but run a blank. Did I ever, Clear Coat 2000 asked me, did I ever see Fleetwood Mac live? No, and that's one of my regrets because I had opportunities to see Fleetwood Mac live, obviously, and they never went. And I'm talking about, I only wanted to see them if the three people had to be there: Christine McVie, Lindsey Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks. If any of those three weren't there, I didn't really want to see them. And I had some opportunities, and just one of those things you put off. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Never got to it. I'm having the same dilemma right now with Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits. So lots of opportunities to see Peter Noon. I love Herman's Hermits, and I never went to see him. And he's still playing live. So my girlfriend and I are talking about seeing him maybe in January. Hello, Edward Gurala. Good morning. What do you think of the movie? What movie are we talking about? Jonas Hallberg, did you watch Led Zeppelin yesterday on YouTube? No, I did not. Lee says, I know you're a fan of Indestructible Man. Great LA footage of Chaney being recognized walking down the street on location. Yes, I just rewatched that movie and I love that scene. There's a scene in there where Lon Chaney's crossing a street in Los Angeles, and you see people. Lon Chaney's going this way. Other people are crossing this way, a busy street, and they look and they point like it's Lon Chaney. It's hilarious. But it's funny because in the movie, you could say maybe they reacted because it looks like the killer, Butcher Benton. In the movie, Lon Chaney plays a guy named Butcher Benton. And he goes to the gas chamber, the electric chair, and he winds up surviving. The two doctors. Well, doctors bring him back to life. Anyway, maybe they could be saying, "Hey, look, Butcher Benton's alive." They could say that. What do I think of the movie The Fly? I like the 1958 one with Vincent Price. I have never seen the entire film, believe it or not, of the Jeff Goldblum remake. Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with the movie Mirage to discuss that. So. Caleb says, good morning. Just found out there was a difference in Rubber Soul track listings internationally. Do you prefer the North American one or the rest of the world? I like the one in, the US one that I grew up with. That's my favorite version of Rubber Soul. I love it starting out with I've Just Seen a Face on side one. I love flipping the album over and getting it to start side two with It's Only Love. I think that's a wonderful arrangement. And a lot of people were influenced, inspired by that album, including, and I believe, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. Rubber Soul was the influence for Pet Sounds. Now, I've heard mixed things. Some people say that Brian Wilson first heard the UK version of Rubber Soul, and other people say, no, it was the US. Yeah, Nowhere Man is, the song Nowhere Man is, I can't think of the right terms here sometimes. It's one that you don't want to miss. It's one that's just unfortunate to lose on the American Rubber Soul. But you get it next year on the wonderful Yesterday and Today album, which has all kinds of loose ends on there that are nice, like Nowhere Man, We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper. You get that stuff on Yesterday and Today. Yes, I heard, Edward, I did hear Breakfast with the Beatles this morning, and I'm happy to say uh, it started out with John, played like three or four John Lennon vocals. And he did say later on he's acknowledging John Lennon. We lost John Lennon. You know, John was murdered, as you know, 42 years ago this month, sadly. Uh, and he did pay attention to John today, which is nice. Ryan Hill, good morning, Ryan. Ralph Gomez says, any news or update about what will be the next Beatles box set, Rubber Soul? Wonder if they'll be able to use the same technology with Please Please Me. Well, a couple of things. First of all, Rubber Soul is the best bet. It's the most popular, the most desired album. So I think Rubber Soul, it's a really good bet that that's going to be the next one. And also, I believe Giles Martin himself said, yes, I'm going to do Rubber Soul next after I take a break. I'm pretty sure he said that. Now, as far as the Please Please Me thing, I do think they're going to use the same technology when they get around to the early albums. And I was just listening to Twist and Shout on the radio today and thinking Ringo's drums on Twist and Shout are fabulous. You know, I've listened to Twist and Shout a million times in my life, seems like. And Ringo's drumming is great on there, but I really noticed it more than ever today. And I thought, how great would it be to really bring that drumming up more if you can? You can isolate the drums somehow with the new technology and bring that up. Hi, Jonas. Yes, I am indeed. I'm happy with the McCartney 80 CD vinyl singles box set. Very happy with it. Thank you. I'm also going to take a moment here for next Sunday to do a plug of my own. Next Sunday, I'm going to be doing a show. It's my show called Fab Gab, and hopefully you'll tune in. It's going to be a show where we're going to take Ringo's 1999 Christmas album, I Want to Be Santa Claus, and we're going to take the tracks on there, and we're going to have a couple of people on there ranking the songs from our least to most favorites of Ringo's Christmas album. And that's going to be next Sunday. The time is 3 p.m. It's a little later here than usual. 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Eastern Time. All right, so I hope you'll join me for that Fab Gab. And also, Fab Gab is a show that I like to do a little more often. You know, I do them when I feel like doing them. And I want you to please, if you're interested in any of the Fab Gab shows, there's a lot of fun ones. Please check my playlists features. Go to that line where it has everything up there where it tells you a bunch of stuff. I don't know. And when you see playlists, click on Fab Gab, you know. Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it that way. Yeah. Captain Binghamton, Joe, what's his name again? Joe, oh, jeez. Flynn, Joe Flynn. He murders Joe Flynn, aka Captain Binghamton, and also Inspector Henderson of Superman, Robert Shane, in one shot. That's great. That's a fun movie. The Indestructible. There's no Lee at the beginning. Technically, it's just Indestructible Man. Indestructible Man. And yeah, that used to be on television. That's my most watched film. And that's like a comfort movie. That's my favorite comfort film. That might be an interesting topic. What are our comfort films that we like? Films that we put on for comfort. It just brings you back to a place you remember. You know, simpler times when you were a child, whatever. I don't know if times are very simple today for today's children. Sorry to say. They have a lot on their plate for kids. Way too much to worry about these days, kids. But you're born when you're born. You don't have a choice when you wind up being born. What can I say? So, adjust my glasses a little bit there. Doesn't really help. I've done a lot of plugs today, huh? I'll probably plug them more at the end if I can remember them all. It's a lot, it's hard to remember stuff. It's Prevagen. What do you think of how Madonna looks today? Pretty gruesome, I gotta say. Although, I'm not a big Madonna fan. I like a good number of her songs. But I always thought she looked the hottest during the Ray of Light period. I call it Mama Madonna. I thought Madonna was much the best looking. I guess that's in the '90s, Ray of Light. Am I right about that? Um, she just looks more mature and pretty nice in that era. I like it better than even when she first was coming up. Hank, what's going on? How did you obtain the McCartney Legacy book earlier than the release date being this Tuesday? I just have friends in high places. No, seriously, when you're going to be reviewing a book or talking about a book, a lot of times you are able to get the book. I read a very little. Yes, I started reading the beginning of the McCartney book, and I was thinking, Edward, instead of doing chats from here, I have to stay here about 2 hours when I do this. I could bring the McCartney book. This is a good opportunity to read the book here. But if I read it here, I'm not going to be doing these live streams. But that's an interesting idea. I can read here. For me personally, when I read too much, my eyes start to get strained and stuff. So I just got, speaking of eye strain, I moved my eye, a little blur. Oh, I gotta rub my eye a little. What do we got here? Lee says, I brought up a great point the other day. Ringo's the only solo Beatle to have 2 number ones on one album. Great accomplishment. Yes, Ringo, trivia, is the only Beatle in his solo career to have 2 number 1 songs on one album. Even Paul McCartney, the great Paul McCartney, does not have 2 number 1 songs on a single album. We're talking about the self-titled Ringo album, has 2 number 1s, Photograph and You're 16, both number 1. And he's got other hits on there too. I mean, I think Oh My My was a hit. I don't know what number it was. Somebody could tell us in the U.S. or England. So it's at least 3 hits on one album and 2 number 1s. So that's for sure. That's for sure. What do we got here? Silly Loves. I think one of those was number 2. I don't know about you. Silly Love Songs and Let 'Em In, weren't they number 1s? I think they were. Wait a second. I think one of them might be number 2. Check that out for me, please. I think Let 'Em In might have been number 2. Demons Dance. Hello, John Alelo. Demons Dance, the Paul McCartney song. I don't remember it. I think that's a bonus track off the album New, and I don't remember it. What do I think of Step Lightly from the Ringo album? It's okay. I don't love it. Step Lightly, it's one of the lesser tracks on the Ringo album, but it's not bad. It's fun. There was no need to remake it. He remade it and did it over again for the Ringo 2012 album. Joe Friday. Do I pick Joe Friday, Friday on My Mind, or ABC TV Fridays? I remember Fridays, the television show. I'm going to go with Friday on My Mind. How do you say your name? Mike Cobb, 64. A new McCartney or Ringo album in 2023? Well, there's rumors that McCartney's going to do a new album in 2023. And Ringo, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ringo has something else, another EP or something. It's still amazing to me. You got to understand, the Beatles have had 61 years, as of right now, of continuous releases, either as a group or the solo Beatles, since 1961. In 1961, the Beatles had the material from the Tony Sheridan stuff, and you had John Lennon singing, Ain't She Sweet, and you had Cry for a Shadow. The Beatles started out in 1961 with, stuff like They're on My Bonnie, and they had Ain't She Sweet, Cry for a Shadow. And then from 61 all the way to 2022, there's been at least one new Beatles or solo Beatles song. There's been something new every year. 61. I mean, I did a video about that. This video is years old on my channel. I don't even know how you find it because I don't know what it's called either. Something about maybe I don't know. But I think that's amazing. And I always think about that. How many years are going to go on before the spell is broken? When are we going to get 1 year in history where there was no new Beatles-related song by one of the four? Will there be a McCartney tour in 2023? I don't know yet. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. What's going on, folks? Let's keep the ball rolling. Keep the ball rolling. Keep the ball rolling. Jay and the Techniques. Come on, everybody. What's on your so-called minds? Did you say McCartney should stop touring and just stay in the studio? Yeah, I've said that many times. I've said that personally, I feel McCartney should stop touring and spend whatever time he has left going into the studio to make new studio albums and songs and protecting his voice, not using it so much live, saving his voice for studio material. Because I always say, in my opinion, after Paul is gone, one day when you look back, it's not so much his live appearances that are going to live on. It's going to be what he's left as legacy in recordings. It's going to be his studio recordings that live on. What's my favorite Christmas song? My favorite Christmas song is Happy Christmas, War is Over by Lennon. And after that, not counting that, it's probably Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives. Those are my two favorite Christmas songs. Name a couple of Beatles songs I never grow tired of hearing, Hank asking me. That's a good question, because I do get easily tired, obviously, of hearing a lot of Beatles songs. But a couple, I could name more than two, but for the first two, Baby You're a Rich Man. I never get tired of hearing Baby You're a Rich Man. It's never been played out. Savoy Truffle, George Harrison's song. Those are two, but I could name way more. Okay, John Alelo. Yeah, I played Demon's Dance when I first got the bonus track, but I don't remember it at all. It's not a good thing if I don't remember it. It means it's got to be average to me, because either a song is so good I remember it, or so bad I remember it. You know, it's hard to believe the album "New" is by McCartney is going to be 10 years old next October. Catch up with Mayo. Let's catch up with Mayo, which is what we're doing. Yeah, Can't Buy Me Love and She Loves You. I don't get tired of those either. I'm the Greatest was not a single. It was not number one, and it was not a single. At least now I'm wondering, was it a single anywhere else in the world? I don't think so. Would I recommend retirement? Andy, who asked me that? Andy Miles. Let me think about it. Would I recommend retirement? Hell yeah! It's the only way to go. What are you kidding? Woodland Goblin, there he is, getting his beauty sleep, waking up later. What's up, Woodland? Get your questions ready, Woodland. Get that brain exercised early in the morning. You're right, John Alelo. No doubts there. The Beatles and solo Beatles, the greatest ever. Andrew Hull says, do you think when London Town and Back to the 8 get their new releases, it will include multiple never before heard songs? I'm sure of it. There's going to be songs you've never heard that have not been released before on it. I mean, maybe diehard fans have heard about it. Joe, are you familiar with the controversy surrounding Fred, John's assistant? Yes, I am. Yeah, he was a crook. He was a thief who stole John Lennon's belongings and got convicted in jail and all that. And you know, I don't know what to say. Some of what he says I trust, and some of it I don't. It's a total mixed bag on him. Hank wants to know my thoughts on Wildlife, the album. I think Wildlife is a different kind of album from Paul. I can understand when the album first came out, people were confused. People thought this is just a mess. This is just a bunch of garbage from Paul, or a lot of it. I can understand people being totally miffed when it first came out. However, I think time has been very kind to Wildlife. But people with open minds, you listen to it and you realize open minds. My mind's still not open enough to like the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. But having said that, it's a different album. It's more raw. It's more primitive from Paul, experimental a little bit, and I like it. I think it stands out in his career. I don't think it's one of his best albums. It still would be lower, but I still like it. Yeah, well, I've thought the Stones should have called it a day a long time ago. I mean, I don't know. Their albums all sound the same to me, same shit. And this is said by somebody who likes the Stones, and I really don't care if anybody takes, objects to that. I like the Stones. I just think they were one trick pony these days, and yeah, that's it. And they really need to call it a day. See, the Rolling Stones are a good example of how the Beatles could have fallen, how low they could have fallen. Had the Beatles survived, had John been here and George been here, and they still were together today. I mean, they're just going to be an act of, an old act getting up there. I mean, granted, Paul is old now, he's 80, and he goes up on stage, but that's just Paul himself, it's not the four Beatles. But I'm saying, the Beatles as a group, if they had stayed together, they would have had some pretty mediocre albums eventually. Um, is McCartney a modern day Mozart? Of course he's better than Mozart. I mean, of course he's as good as Mozart. I say better. Absolutely. You don't hear a lot of kids today still listening to Mozart. You just don't. But you hear a lot of kids today discovering McCartney and the Beatles stuff. I mean, kids still like that stuff. Not everybody. If you go into a high school, you're going to find most of the people do not care about the Beatles or Paul. But you're always going to find some people across the globe, young people, that keep the fires burning. I see them in my record stores looking at the Paul McCartney and Beatles records. I see them at the Paul McCartney live shows, the Ringo shows. I see them making videos on YouTube all about the Beatles. I don't see a lot of young girls and young guys making Rolling Stones videos here on YouTube, and the Stones are still together. They're still together doing it. Nobody cares. What is your all-time favorite Beatles solo song and album? I really can't narrow it down to one, I wish that it was asking me that. James Dockman. It's a good question, but I just can't. I like so many solo songs and so many solo albums. I can't. A lot of times I say George Harrison's All Things Must Pass could be the best. Not necessarily. My favorite is hard to say. That's hard to think that I don't have a favorite solo album because there's so many I like. Hello, Martin McGrath. Raymond Yakko. Is there any McCartney on the singles box that are not on his remakes of all his albums? Wow. How about Hope for the Future? Pops into my mind. Absolutely, Clear Coat says the Beatles quit at the right time, at the top of their game. And that is how they are remembered. Absolutely, knew when to quit. A lot of people, the Beatles split up. Yoko broke up the Beatles. Alan Klein broke up the Beatles. The Beatles shouldn't have split up. It's so good that they split up. They split up on the top, and they never faltered, and they're perfect because of that. Martin McGrath says, I found a video I'd never seen before. Ringo being driven around in a car, interviewed in '69. That doesn't sound familiar at the moment, but I did see a video of Ringo in a boat. I think he's in a boat on the water in '69. I remember that was a weird one. Good morning to Psycho's Platters. What's up, sir? John Orlando says rap gives him a headache. My thoughts? I hate rap. Rap is just crap without the C. Can't spell crap without rap. And you know how I feel about rap, I think, John. Yes, Andy Miles, I saw the clip of when Ozzy Osbourne meets Paul for the first time. It was backstage on the Howard Stern show, and Paul looks very, very uncomfortable meeting Ozzy, to me. Absolutely, Psychos Platters. It was a combination of things that broke up the Beatles. That's what all four of them say. But people out there, you got to understand, haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. They do it in politics, and they do it with Yoko. You hate somebody, you're not going to listen to any reason whatsoever. You don't want that to interfere with your narrative or agenda. You're going to say, this person sucks, that's it, and there's nothing she or he going to be able to do to change your mind, because you need that. You thrive on it. And people want to believe that Yoko broke up the Beatles so they could hate her. It's the same interview where he ends up in a boat. Ringo. So I did see that. You mentioned Edward says you mentioned the four worst solo Beatle albums: Driving Rain, Old Wave, Rock and Roll, and I forget the George. How would you rate those four worst to best? Well, first of all, in the case of John's worst album, the reason I pick Rock and Roll, I think it's a good album. I name it the worst because it's covers. It's not John's stuff. It's cover songs. So if I used to have what I rate them as far, and I think George, I might rate God Troppo as the worst. So if you want me to rate them from worst to best, the worst of those four would be Ringo's Old Wave. The next one would be Driving Rain. Let's do it again. Let's go backwards. Actually, it would go John, Paul, George, and Ringo. The best one would be Rock and Roll. The second best one would be Driving Rain. Third best one would be Gone Troppo. And the least would be Old Wave. John, Paul, George, Ringo. At least that's how I feel right now at this moment. Ask me again tomorrow. Okay. Do I like All Things Must Pass more than Ram? Oh, that's tough, Edward. That's tough. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I probably like Ram a little more than All Things Must Pass. I don't know. Today, right now. And like Psycho's Platter says, before Ringo came along, the other three were together from like 1957. So by 69, they got tired. Yeah, they outgrew each other and they were growing up. They started out as kids. You know, they weren't even adults yet. They weren't even adults, they were children. And, that's pushing it, but you know what I'm trying to say. And as time went on, they had lives and girlfriends and wives and families. And it's time to outgrow the group. Then you get people like Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger thinks you should stay in the group forever, regardless of your own personal life, and not grow up and get, mature a little bit. I don't agree with that. John Lalo says, in his opinion, the Beatles, if they'd stayed together, would never have had a bad album. It's hard to say. You got to figure that could be true in a way, because if John, Paul, and George, are all together now doing the Beatles still in 2022, new Beatles albums, and they still are all here together. As long as you have Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison, sometimes I'm thinking. I always like to say that maybe they would have had a bad album at some point. But when you have John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison all together writing songs, I can't imagine a Beatles album without good stuff on it. So maybe you got a point there. Okay, reading some comments here. I'm reading your comments, all of you. Just that I'm not necessarily commenting on everything. Not everything needs a comment. Woodland Goblin, trying to stir the pot a little bit, says, "What You're Doing" is a great song, especially in mono. I like What You're Doing. I usually bring up the song What You're Doing as an example of a lesser Beatles song, and people get all up in arms about it. I still think it's one of the least songs. What You're Doing is definitely one of those songs. Let me just write a song. To write a song and just have another song on the album. And it's good, but, that's how I feel about it. Love is a powerful thing. Well, here we go again. Martin McGrath, let me get something straight here. He says, love is a powerful thing because he heard John Lennon say the song, "Don't Worry, Kyoko," is one of the best damn rock and roll records ever made. And then Martin says it's not. He says, but that's love. Love's blind, or deaf, you might say. No, it's not a fact, or it's not an opinion. It's John's opinion. In John's opinion, he thinks rock. Don't Worry, Kyoko is one of the best rock and roll records ever made. And what he's talking about, I'm sure, is the backing, the instrumentation. And I wouldn't, personally, in my opinion, I would not say Don't Worry, Kyoko is one of the best rock and roll records ever made. But I know what John's talking about. He's talking about the way it rock. It does rock out. It's outrageous and has great backing, rock and roll backing, guitars and stuff. So I know what he's talking about. And sure, he's partial because he loved Yoko. But don't you say it's not, as if Martin McGrath knows a fact. Don't speak it like it's a fact. It's your opinion that it's not. And it's John's opinion that it is. Both of you have opinions. Phil Spector did a great job with everything. I like Phil Spector, his work. Josh Dillard, hello. Josh says, I went over to Dakota and Strawberry Fields. Lots of people singing John songs. I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, because I did see a news clip, and there was a really good turnout there. A lot of people showed up at Strawberry Fields, a lot of people jamming, playing the music together. It was a great turnout. So I'm very glad to see that 42 years later it was still mobbed. That was good. Oh, I don't know. M. Dude, Henny Youngman. Henny Youngman. Woodland Goblin, I love you, but you're really trying my patience today. He says, hey, I heard people are singing mostly Paul songs over there. The thing is, there was a video by somebody who said he was there on December, I think 4th or something. There was a small gathering on December 4th, around there, 4th or 5th, and he heard people playing music, and that day it was a lot of Paul songs, But on December 8th, that's what we're talking about, December 8th, I don't know. And the thing is, if they're playing mostly Paul songs, that shows you how trivial and pop bubblegum McCartney is compared to deep songs like John. So if they are playing a lot of accessible, yeah, I know they're John and Paul songs. We're talking about vocals, songs that John sang. If they play, if they play All My Loving, that's a Paul song, But I'm not going to mince this stuff, You people over there keep wanting to build up saccharine, bubblegum, sugary Paulie as the best. Go ahead. What do you want me to tell you? Even I say he's the greatest songwriter. But John Lennon was dead for 42 years. And he could have wrote a lot of more great songs that maybe were in the public consciousness the last 42 years. It's not his fault that he didn't have the opportunity to do that. So enjoy your bubblegummy, sappy Paul stuff. As I do. I love it too. Off the ground, la 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 la, off the ground, la 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 la, fly around, la 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 la, fly around, la la. I love the song, but it ain't exactly Isolation by John Lennon, Ain't exactly Give Me Some Truth. Well, I gave you a few laughs there, folks, because that was in the mood. John could have wrote a lot more great songs. Woman, Watching the Wheels, Beautiful Boy. Great songs were still there. Yes, the great songs were still there, absolutely. And those songs, while they were a little bit more sappy, for John, that was the period he was in at that time. He might have been in other periods in the 80s and 90s and thousands and 2010s, See, I don't understand the mentality of people. Beetle Greg 07 says, just think of John looking down from heaven, seeing folks singing a Bloody Paul song. It's all good. People can sing whatever they like. There's no law against singing whatever you like. Nobody's saying you're not allowed to do it. So that's kind of a straw man argument and a moot point. We're just saying that, mostly Paul these days. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the decades to come. We'll see. So, what time is it? 10:36. Whoa, we still got like another 35, 40 minutes here. Josh Dillard says, I can see John being one of those artists that put out a legendary album later in life. I would love to know what his voice would have evolved into at an old age. We'll never know. It's sad. It's sad. Thanks to the jerk of all jerks. I hope some inmates in the prison pull a Jeffrey Dahmer on you, jerk of all jerks. But it hasn't happened yet. If that's too strong for some people, so be it. That's how I feel. Oh. That's interesting. John Alelo says the Beatles didn't put anything out with the Beatles' name on it if it wasn't good. That's interesting. That's interesting. Well, they put Revolution 9 out and put out, Wild Honey Pie, so I don't know. Well, Martin McGrath says the Paul and John argument is a joke, to be honest. They're both equals. The end. Enjoy them both. I do. I do enjoy them both, and you're right in what you say. And everybody should follow that. I don't think there's a lot more tracks that John never released. I think we've heard most of what John Lennon had. There were other studio sessions and things like that, but I think fresh tracks. I don't think there are more. Lee says, because of his abbreviated career, the newest Lennon compilation, Give Me Some Truth, should be allowed to be on all best solo Beatles lists. I don't know. I don't count compilations. But I know what you mean, Lee. Well, I know that me singing Paul's Paul's little off the ground ditty. I knew as I was doing it that it's going to appear somewhere, but that's okay. I think that's funny. Just a little bit of it. I hope you're right, sir. John Alelo. He says, Sir John will make a comeback. You just wait. I hope so. Thomas Jean, what's up, Thomas Jean? I'm sorry I have to drink my water today out of a Poland Springs bottle. I can't drink it out of my alien green cup. So, I know Thomas Jean likes my alien green cup. It's a classic. Josh Dillard says, I hope Sean continues to put out the John Deluxe editions. They've been some of my favorite box sets so far. Amen. He's been doing a great job, Sean has, with those albums, Deluxe. And I hope we do get sometime in New York City and the others. I think we will. Well, we'll get the others for sure. I'm not sure about sometime in New York City, but I hope we do. And phenomenal job. And the remixes that are being done by Paul Hicks, or remasters, whatever you want to say, remasters, I'm sorry. You got to be careful how you talk. John Alelo says, remember Sir Paul's terrible song, Freedom. His absolute worst. Only John can write those songs. Well, wait a minute. I think Freedom is a piece of garbage. What I say about the song Freedom is that it was rushed. It sounded really bad, really rushed off. And he tried, but yet, even though I think Freedom is very weak as a song, I think that Freedom it worked, it served its purpose in the concert for New York, which is basically, he wrote it really for that. And it works good in the concert for New York, but as a song, no. Now, to give it even here with John, I don't think Give Peace a Chance is a great song either. I always say the line, Give Peace a Chance, is a great slogan. But as a song, it's a monotonous song. It goes on and on, doesn't say anything else. Okay? But I still think Give Peace a Chance I'd rather listen to than Freedom. And when you say only John can write those songs, I don't agree with you. I think I like Paul's song, Give Ireland Back to the Irish. I like Paul's song, Big Boys Bickering. Do I think Paul and Ringo like to be called Sir, or just Paul and Ringo? I think they get a kick out of being called Sir Paul and Sir Ringo. I think they like that, but I don't think, maybe they don't prefer it, but I think they like it. Hello, Christian. Christian says, I hope we get a Mind Games Deluxe. Well, I would definitely think we would. Definitely. At some point. And of course, 1973 will be 50 years ago next year. It's going to be a big year in 1973. To 2023 is going to be a big year remembering 1973. A lot of stuff. John Marino says Gratitude is probably Paul's worst song. It's one of them. I think it's not one of his best at all. Anthony says, good morning, Joe. How's the room temperature? It's not too bad today, but that's because I'm wearing a zip-up sweatshirt and my winter coat. So, yeah, there's no temperature thermostat in this room. And there was not another room for me to go into today. Sometimes I could find another room. It's a little warmer, but not today. And then, of course, Edward talks about, Paul was proud of Freedom, telling Eric Clapton how he was going to do it live. I love that. Clapton's looking at him like, are you out of your mind? I love that. James Farley, hello. I think Luck of the Irish off Sometime in New York City is a great song, just as good as Give Ireland Back to the Irish. I think Luck of the Irish is much better than Give Ireland Back to the Irish. I think John's song is better. Thomas Jean says, do you think these deluxe releases are damaging, for lack of a better word, our bootleg collections? Well, yes and no, because there's always going to be bootleg stuff that doesn't come out, I don't think. But for the most part, when they put stuff out legitimately and officially, the sound quality is usually better. That's one thing. Usually it's better, the sound, when they put it out. So it does take some of the fun and novelty away from collecting bootlegs when they put stuff out officially. That's true. But at least the sound quality is better most of the time. Hello, James Byers. Happy Sunday. Doing well, thank you. Hope you're doing well too. I feel like I want to get up and stretch my legs a little bit. Good to sit still this long. I agree, Astro Zombie. My Mummy's Dead. A lot of people put that down. The first time I heard My Mummy's Dead, tagged on at the very end, it's not really shouldn't be thought of as a song, as an official song. It's really just a piece of mourning, 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 a mournful piece that's tagged on at the end of the Plastic Ono Band album. And the first time I heard it, I didn't know what to expect, and I heard it. It was haunting. It haunted me, and that's the idea of it. It's supposed to really make you feel like, wow, that's really cryptic and morbid. And that's the idea of it. What do I think of Yoko's song "Remember Love," the B-side of "Give Peace a Chance"? I think it's one of Yoko's pretty songs. I think "Remember Love" is a nice little song from Yoko. It's one that I like. Thomas Jean says, "Do I have anything by REM?" I like some REM songs. Every time I try to get a greatest hits or best of REM, there's some stuff missing. I like stuff you would expect: "Stand," "Orange Crush." It's the End of the World as We Know It. Whatever the name of the song is. Losing My Religion. That kind of stuff. I like a lot of that stuff. Okay. It's only 10:30 here. I got to be here at least an hour more, but I don't want to stay on here that long. I don't want these. That's the only thing. I don't mind doing live streams on StreamYard, where I bring up people in the squares with me. That could go on for 8 hours for all I care. But when I do these videos where I'm just going to have basically Q&A by myself, I don't like them going on much more than an hour and a half tops. I don't know, James, I don't know that kind of one featuring George Harrison. Astro Zombie says, I saw a few Yoko interviews yesterday. I'm sorry, I saw a few Yoko interviews yesterday. That lady handles interviews with class and respect. Yes, she does, and she also handles the bull crap that she's gotten over the decades with strength and more respect than they deserve. She really handles it great. Why was Her Majesty on Abbey Road? Well, because Her Majesty originally was part of the actual medley. Her Majesty was actually in the middle of the medley. And Paul was listening to the medley and said, I don't like Her Majesty, let's cut it out of there. And he told the engineer to cut it out. And then he said, what should I do with it? And Paul said, throw it away. And the engineer said, I'm not going to throw it away, he said to him. So he tacked it on. He put a little space at the end of the tape and tacked it on, saved it on the end. And when Paul heard it, he thought it was a good effect to leave it on. Am I a fan of opera and classical music? I like some classical music. I don't know the names of all the classic pieces I like, but some classical pieces The familiar ones I like. As far as opera, I hate opera. I think opera is really torture for the eardrums, and I really don't know what I might take rap over opera. That's how much I hate opera, but I really don't know. Martin McGrath says not too many people actually sympathize with Yoko after what she went through. If truth be told, I'm not sure what you mean. I don't know if you meant with the Beatles or with John's death. Woodland Goblin that actually says Paul tried to rewrite some of his solo singles history with the release of this box set. Ooh, what do you think of that, folks? John's murder. Okay. Well, actually, when John was first killed, Yoko got a lot of sympathy, a lot of respect, and a lot of grief because she was the widow, and that's only right. She should have gotten a lot of respect and grief and sympathy. And I think a lot of that. I think a lot of that is now fading. It faded. It's been faded away a long time. Now, no, but nothing's sacred for anybody. The haters out there have to have a scapegoat to whip, and that scapegoat is Yoko. So they're never going to stop. Unfortunately, it's pathetic. Um, so we think that's a fake woodland, huh? Let's see. Is there a way of checking? I don't know. Could be. I don't know. Yeah, if it is, it is. And Paul does rewrite history. Absolutely. Okay, James Byers, yeah, reading about the handle of Messiah, all that stuff. Oh, my leg, I gotta get up. All right, folks. Well, it's funny. I love Paul. Paul. I told you. I've said this a million times. A million times I've told you this. Paul is only going to do whatever is PC. Let's face facts. Now, 4 or 5 seconds. He was very proud of 4 or 5 seconds, and he even played 4 or 5 seconds. In concert. He played 4 or 5 seconds a lot. Now he wants to totally pretend he doesn't know Kanye West. I mean, I get it. Kanye West is a jerk. I've said Kanye West was a jerk from day one. Sorry, Kanye. Not really. You wouldn't say sorry to me, would you? So, I really don't care. Kanye West is what he is, okay? But I'm just saying, I'm not disputing that Kanye West is wrong or that Kanye West is a jerk. But what I'm saying is, Paul wants to tie, whatever way the wind blows. If Kanye West is accepted, Paul is there to record with him and to play it. If Kanye West gets controversial, he distances himself. See, that kind of thing. John would never do that. John aligned himself with the most controversial figures at times, I mean, it didn't matter. That's the kind of balls that I miss from John. Uh, what do I think of Listen, the Snow is Falling, the B-side of Happy Christmas? I just told somebody yesterday that B-side, it's one of the most beautiful, it's one of my favorite Christmas songs. Somebody asked me here today, what's my favorite Christmas song? Well, Yoko Ono's Listen, the Snow is Falling is one of my favorite. It is a gorgeous song. And Yoko does not scream, folks. People say, all she does is scream. I love these people, like the people you work with next to you, and they're like, Yoko Ono, she screams. Yeah. You don't know anything about Yoko. All you know is what they feed you, the narrative that they feed you about Yoko. You don't know the truth about Yoko. He does not only scream, and Listen to Snow is Falling is a gorgeous song, and it's a gorgeous image too, you know, metaphor. Listen, you can hear the snow falling, you know, it's great. I love it. I love that poetic, and John recognized that. Um, James Byer says, "Are you getting the new McCartney book?" I got it already. Where you been, James? Where you been? I got it. Yeah, I do have it, and yes, I like the way you say that. Apparently, the level of research is comparable to Mark Lewison. Yes, that is the truth. You know, it's not just another McCartney book. It's an essential McCartney book, from what I see. Um, what's my favorite Badfinger song? Probably Day After Day. George Harrison guitar. Penny Lane, man, Penny Lane, you're in my ears and in my eyes. How's that? Yes, and Penny Lane says, I love Listen to the Snow is Falling. Beautiful song. Yes, Penny, it is, it is. Do I think that Badfinger was cursed? Eh, I don't know. Well, it's not completely cursed, thank goodness. We got Joey Molland, so I don't know. But to Pete Ham, all I gotta say is, Pete Ham, man, why'd you do it? As long as you got your health, that's what matters, man. Health is everything, man. Yeah, so you got bad business dealings, bad business, this and that and that thing. That stuff goes away with time. Yeah, no matter what, the song is another one of my favorite. Yeah, Come and Get It is not my favorite Badfinger song. No, nope, 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 nope. What do I think of The Mess? I think The Mess is overrated, the McCartney song, the live version. I think it's overrated by McCartney fans. I don't hate it, but it's just there. It doesn't, it's just there. There's not like a really great melody or anything to that particular song. You know, it doesn't really knock me out. Yes, I prefer Paul McCartney's version of "Come and Get It" to Badfinger's. Yeah, I kind of prefer Paul's version of it. But it's a very simple. It's catchy as hell. Paul does what Paul does best. He creates an earworm with "Come and Get It." However, "Come and Get It" is very much by the numbers, and it's boring, and there's nothing else. Nothing else really to it. Well, folks, I think I'm going to be calling this quits now, even though I have to be here at this place for, wow, another 45 minutes, maybe close to an hour I got to be here. But I don't want this to go longer than like around 90 minutes. So thank you all for being here. It'll go a little over 90, as I just tell you. Thank you all for being here. And I want to give you some plugs again. First of all, please be sure tomorrow, Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, to check out live our show Talk More Talk, which is going to be on at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube on the Talk More Talk channel live. We're going to talk about Ringo's album, I Want to Be Santa Claus, but we're also going to be talking about our favorite Beatle releases and favorite Beatle related items in the year 2022 that just passed. So be there for that. Okay, also next Sunday, that's Sunday the 18th, please be sure to tune in to my show live here on my channel, Fab Gab. I'm going to do another Fab Gab where three of us are going to be on the air live. We're going to be taking the I Want to Be Santa Claus Ringo album. We're going to be listing our tracks for the holiday season from least favorite on the album to most favorite. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern. 3 p.m. Eastern. And wow, I think I pretty much got a hold of everything right now. I'll remember what I forgot when I get off. Thank you all. Take care.